What made you go from meh to oh crap I need to see a doctor? When she went from seeming groggy to seeming drunk for no reason was a good thing. 2. Since she couldn't move by the time we got to the ER and she was unconscious before the doctor got to her. Any slower and I'd be a widower. Adult onset type 1 diabetes. For the curious. I slipped and fell down 2 steps of stairs. No big deal. My husband said I needed to fix my pants because it looked off from the back. I broke my sacrum bone above your tailbone between S3 and S2, and it was sticking out. My doctor had to pop it in. There is nothing that can fix. I have a paralyzed tailbone. I can't feel it. I broke my butt. I used to have an agonizing leg pain and it would kill me to step sometimes. I chose to ignore it until I was scratching my balls one evening and discover a lump. I was afraid I had cancer spreading and ran to the doctor. Found out I just had a weird growth on my nut that was not cancer. Leg still hurts. That was a wild ride. 4 am. Dry heaving. Meh. 8 am. Kind of loopy. Have to catch my flight home. Noon. Got wheelchaired off the plane. Escorted to connecting flight. 3 pm. Landed in hometown. Wheelchaired out to meet my girlfriend. 5 pm. Shivering uncontrollably in a scalding hot shower. Abdomen pain so bad I couldn't even stand up straight. 5:30 pm. Admitted to hospital. Got scans and tests overnight. 7 am. Appendix surgery. Worst birthday so far. Dude, I feel you on that. The one appendicitis shows up is so crappy. I had my appendectomy the first week of boot camp and that sucked so bad. I can't imagine having those symptoms on an airplane. My mentor, a man suffering from brain cancer, poked the lump at the base of my throat and said, gravely, "That's cancer." Turns out, he was right. Turns out, do it or you will freaking die is a really good incentive to get someone to follow through with something. If you throw up coffee grounds and don't remember eating coffee, you are bleeding internally and should seek help immediately. And if you do remember eating coffee grounds, go ahead and get checked out for pica. I was an athlete in college, and one time I was at lift, and when I was removing the bar from the side holder on the squat rack I hit myself in the side of the head, just hard enough. I didn't think much of it, finished my lift and went home. I didn't feel great for the next few days. A few days later, after competing in a track meet, I was at a team barbecue and had the worst headache. After I left, I decided to do some homework with my friend, sat down in front of my computer, fell asleep for about 20 minutes, and when I woke up, I looked at my screen, and I was like, holy crap, I can't read. I had a concussion. Minute 1. My tummy feels a bit unsettled. Minute 2. Laying on bathroom floor in my vomit and feces. One day I went from my hearing is muffled in one ear to now I'm deaf in one ear to the room is spinning and I can't stop vomiting. Went to the ER real fast at that point. Now the room has stopped spinning, but I never did get that hearing back. Leg pain went from a nuisance to not being able to stand up. Turns out it was stage 3 cancer. If I had waited another week I would probably not be around anymore. So to edit, my doctors did several different types of scans on me. They ended up finding a tumor the size of a grapefruit on the base of my spine. A few days later they removed it and I further had 6 rounds of inpatient chemo and a further 6 weeks of radiation treatment. The cancer was called schwannoma neurofibromatosis and yes, I still have my leg. It was basically the same situation as the movie 50/50. Hey, my ankles look a little swollen. 5 minutes later. Hey, everything under my knee turned into a purple elephant foot. Also my pee is blood. Kidney failure. Not even once. Didn't have a period for a couple months, more like 6 months tbh, and thought nothing of it because well didn't have to bleed for a week yay, until I had cramps that made me crawl through the house and almost rip my mom's shirt while crying asking to be taken to the hospital. It lasted a couple of hours but it had to happen twice for my mom to take me to an OBGYN. Went, did the exams and she said it's totally normal. I had an ongoing period from the end of December to February but in the last month I had normal period so yay. throw away because TMI, and I won't want to think about this after I post LMAO. A couple years ago I noticed that peeing was starting to hurt. I assumed it was a UTI, since I've actually had one before when I was much younger, and it felt similar. I heard that a good way to treat a UTI was to drink a metric fuck ton of water so you kind of pee away the germs, and that's what I did. A few days later, I couldn't pee at all. Like, nothing would come out, even though I definitely had urine in my body. A panic attack or two later I finally told my mom so she could take me to the I was underage at the time and couldn't drive, and I was also in so much pain I probably wouldn't have been able to drive even if I knew how. Did you know catheters suck? Because catheters suck. I went through a lot of physically and psychologically uncomfortable tests, including an ultrasound because one of the possible causes was a cyst on my ovaries. We found nothing. Like, no causes. At all. We had no idea what was going on. My urethra just decided it didn't want to pee anymore and clamped up, causing immense pain whenever something needed to pass through. Like that ton of water I drank under the impression that it was a UTI. Thankfully, there's a medication specifically for that sort of situation. It numbs up the urethra just enough that I could pee. That, combined with the catheter, probably saved my life. I wasn't anywhere near exploding bladder status yet, but I dang well could have been. Eventually, after a few days of taking the medication I was fine, and I've never had that happen since. Kind of an anticlimactic end, TBH, but it did go from meh to OP I need to go a hospital in the matter of a day or two. I get what you have, happened to me, and I too tried to self-medicate, underage too, so had to tell my mom. Till I was literally screaming when I go to the bathroom. Mine though was some sort of UTI. They did try to do the catheter. I think they may have. I was 12 or 13 at the time. I was just in so much pain. Bed rest for 3 days and lots of coconut water till I was normal again. I sat next to a kid in English at college, and from the get-go he was coughing and sounded truly awful, so striking up conversation I asked if he was okay. This guy said yeah and carried on. Anyway, the kid disappeared for the next 3 weeks. Turns out he had tuberculosis. The whole college was on serious lockdown and maybe 90% of students got put on medication for dormant TB. Couple of weeks after taking these I'm struggling to keep my eyes open. I can't even walk 10 meters to the toilet without needing a 5-hour nap after. My dear old mother thinks I'm just trying to skip college because I was never really big into school. Anyway, this goes on for 2 or 3 weeks. Finally get her to take me to hospital and proceed to spend the next 3 weeks on drips and having operations and crap. Doc said I had a massive allergic reaction to the meds. My immune system was shutting down and I probably would have died. When I realized that I was throwing up so often that the acid had burned off my lips, my tongue, the roof of my mouth, and my throat, and that the bits of red weren't food, but blood. What kind of person just eats bits of red they find laying about? Kept coughing for a couple months. I thought I'd tough it out until I started coughing blood. The little unsettling pain between the butt cheeks turned out to be a pilonidal cyst. 2 years and 2 surgeries later it hasn't healed yet. Yeah, pilonidal cysts are the worst. They are extremely reluctant to heal. I was sick at college and had a really bad cough. It kept me and my roommates up at night. Finally one night I coughed so hard I had a searing pain in my ribs. It hurt to walk up and down stairs. It hurt to laugh, and it definitely hurt to cough. Finally I went to the doctors and realized I coughed a rib out of place. They said it was actually costochondritis. My rib still sticks out. I had an alignment done at a chiropractor 1 year and they told me I have a rib out of place. I didn't realize it could just stay that way forever. Was having some tightness in my chest once in a while. Getting slightly out of breath over little things. Just once in a while over the course of several weeks. Went on a couple hikes with my then boyfriend. Was getting more out of breath than normal. Finally decided to go to the campus health center. Realized when I was walking up the small hill to the health center, I could not catch my breath. Explained to the person at the front desk I was having trouble breathing, which was very obvious at this point. Turned out, walking pneumonia and bronchitis, which for some reason after several weeks, got dramatically worse in the course of a couple days. Could barely do anything for about 2 weeks. Couldn't do any activity more than slowly walking for a couple months. About 4 months after our first baby was born, my wife started getting really bad stomach aches. Fit like 3 days she went through it no problem. 4th day went to doctor. They gave her some meds for pain and sent us on our way. Next day still not better. We were leaving for airport to go out of town for Christmas. Called my dad who is a doctor and told him what they said and what was going on. He asked if her eyes looked yellow. Hadn't noticed, but yeah, the whites were crazy yellow. Almost brown. He said hang up and get to her, she is about to die. Turns out he was right. Gallstone had blocked gallbladder and she was rushed into emergency surgery. They said it had been blocked probably all week and she was in serious trouble. They said if we boarded that plane it probably would have ruptured and she would not have made it. Went from packing for trip to show new baby to family to a week in hospital quick. To make it worse, they didn't tell her they went in through belly button. Coming out of anesthesia she sat there digging in it, basically digging her finger into her body. They also gave her some pain meds that turned her grader crazy, like throwing crap around hospital room and getting up to go for a smoke like 3 hours after surgery. She didn't smoke. Was her intense Christmas. Was at work when I felt a pinch on my lower abdomen just above my pelvic region. I was a fairly new pair of pants and thought that it was one of those plastic tie thing they used to fasten the tags to the clothing. Went to the restroom but could not find the cause. Later that night at home I discovered I had a blister there. At first I thought that whatever was in my pant must have just rubbed me wrong and caused a blister. Well, the blister popped and fluid began oozing out. There was a hole there about the size of a pinhead. By the end of the week it was the size of a dime. Still oozing with white blob stuff coming out. Went to the doctor. Found out the white stuff was fat cells because the hole was through the entire epidermis. Also the doctor said that it was more than likely a bite from a brown recluse spider. Got a shot in the butt of penicillin and had to take some hefty duty antibiotics. God, that sounds like a nightmare. Severe pain that didn't go away for a week. I had a lump between my spine and shoulder blade that grew for about 6 years. It got infected one day. I figured it would get better. It didn't. Also, when I thought I had the flu for 2 weeks, it went away. Then I woke up with 50 red spots, about 3-inch diameter, all over my body. Long story short, Lyme disease. When the intense anxiety, hopelessness and stress faded to black, I silently got up from my seat at work, said nothing to no one, walked out of the building and headed to the transit center. Got on the bus and headed to the liquor store to get a pint, fully intending on drinking it on the way to the tallest bridge and then jumping. When I got off the bus, instead of walking to get the pint, I walked home and called the crisis center. Ro, glad you switched plans. I had really bad pains in my lower stomach. I rarely get bad cramps, but this had me laying on the floor. MedExpress said it was probably nothing to worry about. I trusted my instinct, went to the ER, and it turned out my appendix ruptured. Had some bad stomach pains for a few days. Figured it was due to gallbladder issues, which I'd had before, but had non-invasive surgery to remove the stones. Pain goes away. I feel fine. Wife falls on the sidewalk while heading for work. She will only go to the ER if I agree to, so I do. She has a concussion. I'm off to emergency surgery. My gallbladder had ruptured, and the reason the pain stopped is because there was no more pressure nor blockage. Basically, all the nasty junk the gallbladder holds was leaking throughout my insides. Found out during recovery that morphine, yes, I got the button, really makes me sleep. Like press the button and sleep for 8 hours. Wake up, hurt, repeat. The lack of physical activity caused pneumonia to set in. Have you ever coughed so much it hurt your ribs? Imagine that, but also imagine a 30cm slice in your side which is held together by staples. I actually tore out several staples during my recovery, simply by coughing. One time I went to go take a pee. I was watching the stream and thought to myself, this looks a little off. I might need to get this looked at. About that time my urine went from a slight reddish tint to full on blood red. My next thought was, well, now it's to go to the doctors. I finish peeing, this nasty, bloody, purulent mucus came out the end of my penis. Call 911 now, I yelled as full freakout mode ensued. Luckily it was a minor case of very severe UT. Developed epilepsy in my 20s and couldn't figure out what's been triggering them. A year and a half later in unstable medicine, I'm going on 3 months without a grand mal seizure. I kept my contacts in for too long. Had a headache and decided to sleep it off. Thankfully I took out my contacts because when I woke up it seriously felt like I was hit in the skull with a baseball bat. Any amount of light hurt so freaking bad. Rushed to the ICU where they looked at my eye and said I had a corneal ulcer. So now I have a very small scar on my eye. It doesn't affect my vision, but I totally learned from sleeping with my contacts in. You've been visited by the good sleep capybara. Upvote within the next 5 seconds and you will be blessed with cozy and restful sleeps. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.